You look deflated, my dear.
I'm
Because
so
we're
sad.
talking about rejection, isn't it?
Are we talking about rejection with books or just in general life?
Life in general.
Oh man, this could go for a while.
Okay, right. Let me get out the list of disappointments that I am to my family, and we can go through them. No. Let's keep it book specific, shall we?
Okay, let's do that.
Let's talk about handling rejection as an author. How do you handle rejection?
I've never been rejected as an author
Shut
myself.
up.
I wish. No, I'm well over 200 rejections now. So I was over 150 before I self-published my first book. And by the time I got picked up, it was nudging 200 and they're still coming. Like I'm still getting rejections now. So certainly at the start, it's devastating. It's really hard. And especially if it's a book that like when we write a book, we put so much of ourselves into it. It is like they're rejecting us, not like they're rejecting the work. And I think that's once you can make the distinction between that and also the realization that if being honest with yourself, that just because they rejected it doesn't mean it's a bad book or a bad story. And I think you do have to be honest, because sometimes it is because it's a bad book and a bad story. But if you can look at it and go, there's something, as we've talked about in other chats, there's something there. I know there's something there, and then you can try again and work on it and send it out to other places. But that helps you take it a little less personally and harsh, I think. How about you? You've never been rejected for a book either.
Shut up. Of course I have. I go through a range of emotions, being a perimenopausal woman. Proud perimenopausal woman. I have hormones that I need to deal with on top of rejection emails. So first of all, sadness, which usually involves some sort of sugary treat. Get me over that. Then sometimes I get a little bit angry and I'm like, I don't understand. What do you mean? Like I'm trying and just nobody wants to give me a break. And then the third one is a lot more reasonable, where I start to really look at it and go, okay, why? And I put my kind of business hat on, as well as my much more calmer editing hat on, and I try and look at it and go, okay, what was it? Was it the manuscript? Was it the cover letter? Was it the timing? Was it the publisher? Like, there's so many reasons. And in the beginning, I think I didn't know enough to be worried too much about rejection. I think I was just so sure that everyone was going to say no anyway, that it was almost like, oh, good, okay. I knew it was shit, so that's great, you know.
I'm justified in my feelings about
I'm right. And then when you get your yes, it's almost like, are you sure? Like, like if you've emailed back the right person, like you're almost going to go like, it's Michelle that you're talking to. Just want to confirm, Michelle Worthington. Okay, great. Okay,
amazing.
Good. That's great. And then you're obviously excited. But I don't think that it gets any easier, especially like if you've got a story that you love. I've got 2 stories at the moment that I love, and I'm just struggling because they're getting rejected. So does it get any easier for you?
I say no, and I think it is no, it doesn't. And you're right, especially when it's a story that you really like. You're like, but why? And I find as well, entering into competitions sometimes when they have guidelines and not getting anything, those are like, but I fit all the guidelines. What else can I do? And yes, the other ones might be better stories, but whatever. So yeah, no, it doesn't get easier. And sometimes it doesn't get easier. Like even if it's getting easier with the publishers for me in a way. And I think sometimes it gets easier because A, you know, you can send it out to other places. B, I know I can self-publish it if no one takes it, even though it still sucks that they reject it, because I want that sort of that distribution and that passive income and then a bigger reach than I can reach. But I know I can do it if I need to. So that sort of dulls the blow a little bit. But also, I know it's not going to be the last story that I'm ever going to write. I know there's going to be, even if it got rejected everywhere and I didn't publish it, I'll write something else. And so it sucks, but I know that it's not the end of my writing career just because a book gets rejected by a publisher. And what you said before is really interesting, because we don't know sometimes, especially these days, a lot of publishers will be, well, if you don't hear from us, it's a no. So you don't get, because they've got so many, they can't give reasons to everybody for the rejection.
Just get ghosted.
Yeah, which is kind of nice in a way. I mean, if all the girls that I spoke to just rejected me and ghosted me rather than give me all the reasons why. Where's the mullet? You got that back?
You used to look like Pat Cash, and now
like Pat Cash, get the headband.
Yeah.
But when you don't get the reasons, you don't know if they read it at all, if it got lost somewhere, because sometimes you don't even know if they've received it. B, if they read the cover letter and they just went, oh, I'm not going to reading this cover letter, I don't want to read the story. Or if they read the story and don't like it, or if there was, I mean, some of the things that we hear when submitting is really, you want to get it right. Maybe if they see a spelling mistake in the first sentence, it doesn't affect how good the story is, but it can definitely put people off. Like, oh, this person isn't professional enough to have this really prepared. So it may be nothing about the story sometimes. So I think it's a really good point you made. Why did they reject it? We don't know sometimes. And even when we get a reason, it might be a form letter saying, we're sorry, this didn't fit our list. No. What does that even mean? And again, it's fair enough from their point of view, but we have to then analyze it and put that editing hat on and look at it and go, why do I think they rejected it? Why could it be? What can I improve in this? And maybe you just go, well, this is the story I want to sell, and you can stick to that and then live or die by that as well.
Yeah. I love, my favorite sort of rejections are the ones that actually like go through and say there was just this part of it that needs a bit of work, because I mean, I'm always a bit cheeky, but I always take that as an opportunity to email them back and say, well, if I fix it, are you interested in seeing it again? Have you ever done anything cheeky like that?
That was how I actually got into my primary teaching degree, was doing that. But that was because my mum said, you ring them up and you find another way, Adam. So, but I think it is good. I think a lot of people do just take the rejection and just go, oh, well, that's it. And maybe work on it, maybe don't. But in doing that, and it's a fine balance, isn't it? Like, you don't want to kind of be push or anything, but wording it like you did, and just saying, if I do work on this, is it possible to resend it in? They can say no, but they rejected it anyway. So you're just where you were, and you've got something to work on. You can then send to another publisher. So yeah, I don't know if I have done that actually with books. I think I've just kind of been the one to sort of take it on the chin and send it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, but I think
it's knowing when to do that. Like, if you've got the kind of standard form email rejection where it doesn't really even have your name, dear author. dear crappy author, never contact us again, never darken our door with your dribble.
Dear loser.
As if you would send to us. Yeah. So I think you got to pick your battles. But if you've got a personal email from an editor and they've addressed you by name and actually called out something specific about your manuscript, I think that's definitely a good. I know a few of my mentor clients who I've said, that's an opportunity there.
Yeah,
it's, I'm all about consent, and no is no, but sometimes in an email where they're saying it was just this one little thing, then the rejections are opportunities for growth.
Absolutely. And that brings in that sort of that persistence as well, and which we need to have when we get so many rejections, and how you deal with it is so important. I mean, I know people who've written one novel or story or movie script or whatever, sent it out to one place, got rejected, chucked it in the drawer, never looked at it again. And I think that persistence of either emailing back or sending it out somewhere else or writing something else, it's so important to have. So important. Do you have a memory of one's popped into my head just then, a memory of like a worst rejection that you got?
There's been so many. Yeah, it was one that I'd got there's a couple. One of the hardest rejections for me at the moment is when it goes to acquisitions. So it goes to meetings, and I've had this with one publisher over and over and over again. Every time I submit their manuscript, the editor loves it, takes it to acquisitions, and it just falls over like at the last minute. It could be they don't. For me, usually with my books, it's they don't think that there's a big enough market for it. They don't think it's going to sell enough. Like that seems to be always my sticky point. So I'm trying to find ways around that. But I can remember once I submitted to an agent and I had like 3 books, and this agent actually rang me to reject me. Like rang me, it was a gentleman, and he said to me, "Sweetheart, just wanted to let you know, you don't contact us, we contact you. So I just thought that I'd give you a little bit of a heads up, community service announcement. Don't contact us. When we want to see your work, we will contact you." And it floored me. Oh my gosh,
that's terrible.
Yeah. Well, this is, gosh, it would have been 10 years ago. So, so that was probably my worst. What about yours?
Well, my worst, I mean, I can't compare with that. And that's just, there's ways of saying that to people as well. That he just, anyway.
That was the sweetheart that got me.
So patronizing. Imagine now if they
still know who that person is, and one day I'm hoping to be big enough that they contact me and I'll go, "Sweetheart."
I'll contact
you. Don't contact me. I contact you. It's a bucket list. You know how like you have all of these little checklists in your head, like when you win lotto or what you say to your boss when you walk out. Yeah, so he's in my checklist.
He's in the checklist. Yeah, and oh man. Whew. Can we video that? Can we video that when you do it to me?
I'll do it live. We'll do it. And I'll be talking to you, and I'll have them on loudspeaker when I do it. I've got to get big enough for that to happen first. So anyway, watch this space.
So my worst rejection was one where I'd met this publisher, and so it was through this John Marsden used to do retreats at his property, and it was an amazing weekend up there, and you got to meet a publisher and discuss the work. And this one publisher was keen on this work. She's like, "Look, I'm keen on this work, but and similar thing like this. If you need to work on this, and blah blah blah." I'm like, great. So I did it and sent it back, and then got rejected, and it got rejected, and the rejection letter said, "We're not going to take this. We found the narrator annoying," and so it was confusing because of her sort of keenness, and so it ended up being that each one wanted. There's 2 partners and they both had to agree on it. So it was fine. What made it the worst was saying the narrator was annoying. The narrator was based on me. So basically it was just my personality. Like, oh, this guy.
I don't like you. Like the story's fine. We just don't like you.
Like you. So it's a grating. That was a tough one to get. So then actually it was funny with that I then rewrote it. Like this was a book I rewrote like 30 times. Took the narrator out, like wrote it without it. And I'm like, no, I actually like the narrator being in there. End up putting it back in, and it ended up being in there. The book got published 10 years after I wrote it in the end. And the narrator, this sounds really bad now I've said it to me. The narrator's my favorite character in the book.
Of course it is. No, not surprised at all.
Yeah. But that was a hard one. And that's the thing is a lot of our characters, there's a lot of us in the characters, so it gets rejected because of that, or it's our story. And if they say this is a terrible story, it's like it's an autobiography. Thanks a lot.
So you never say that. You never say that until after. And I think one of the things that people don't realize about rejection is it's not one person saying no. Like sometimes if you get rejected very early on, like got the cover letter and that don't like it, it's just not us. It goes to a whole meeting. So sometimes you need to get like 6 or 7 people to say yes. And that's really hard.
Really hard. It's, I mean, and yeah, there's the editor who selects it first, the marketing, the sales, sometimes the head of publishing will be in those. Like they've all, yeah, you're right. They've all got to agree on it. And these people can have, I mean, they're working in the same, you'd think they'd have similar tastes, but there still might be subtle differences within that, where they're like, you know, I don't like gross stories, even if everyone else loves it and they're going to sell. And, you know, there might be just little differences where they're like, oh, and the marketing might go, well, this, or sales might go, this stuff just isn't selling at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's a good story, just the wrong time, wrong fit. So there's so many factors and gatekeepers that to get picked up by a publisher, it's got to go through, which means that when it does, it's kind of all the more thrilling because it's got through all those doors.
I know. And I think I will say that how I handle rejection as well is I write another story, or I submit straight away that story to somebody else, because I think it stops your momentum. And if you let it stop your momentum and you get too kind of wound down, it's really hard to get going again. So one of the things that I do if I get rejected is, if I know that story is the absolute best that I can get it, I will research another publisher and send it off, or I will write a different new story to get ready to send to that publisher. What sort of things do you do, like practical things, to make sure that you're not just kind of getting stuck with the rejection?
Is drinking a whole bottle of gin a bad thing?
Well, that's just normal daily. Like I'm just that. Like what? Yeah. No. No judgment here.
It's not gin in this. I'm just saying.
You never know. That's why you have it in a pretty cup like this, and then you can't tell. You don't know.
Come on, I got this little 101 Dalmatians puppy love. I got it because Bill Peet, who's one of my favorite authors when I was a kid, he did all the drawings for 101 Dalmatians. So I thought, anyway, one thing I heard Neil Gaiman say, I did the masterclass, Neil Gaiman on masterclass.com, which is fantastic. And one thing he talks about is that sort of thing. He's like, once you've sent it out, start writing something else straight away. Because they might say, what else have you got? But also, if you get a rejection, you've got something else ready. So yeah, I'm with you. Just even not just when you get the rejection, but constantly, whether it's out, whether I'm waiting, whether it's back, just always working on new things. So, because often publishers will, even if they accept it, they might then also go, what else have you got? Yeah. Show us some more. We love this. Give us some more of that. Or we're not going to do this, but what else have you got? Like, so to have that be ready. And even, yeah, you're right. I think if you dwell on the rejection before you start something else, it's hard to start something else. Whereas if you just go, bang, I'm going to get stuck into something else, you don't have time to kind of dwell on it because you're writing again. And that's what we love doing, is the writing.
Busy. You're too busy to worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And drunk.
Yeah. So everything's fine. Mummy's fine. I'm fine. So I think it's actually our industry. I don't think there's really any other job that has as much rejection on a day-to-day basis than we do. Like, we're not talking like quarterly meetings or monthly, assessments. Like, this is every day. Tallyabsolutely.
And I mean, the only other ones are the other creative fields, I guess. Like, we're basically like an actor going out to auditions all the time. And, they talk about how I listen to Matthew McConaughey saying, he'd go out to 100 auditions and he'd get one yes. And it can be like that. And once you can sometimes get to a certain point where you do get kind of more yeses as you sort of build your skills and your name. But even then, it's still, the rejections still do come in. It's not like suddenly everything is always going to get accepted, because it's still, you might write a story that's amazing, but it might be ahead of its time.
Yeah.
No one's going to pick it up because they're going to go, this isn't going to work. No one's taking stories about, I got one the other day, no one's taking stories about knights at the moment. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean they won't. But
it's so funny.
But yeah, even I remember hearing one that was sort of pirates are a bit of a tired theme. And I remember, and again, that sort of reactions you get, like mine was a bit almost offended, like, pirates are always cool. Like, what are you talking about? But,
say that to a pirate's face and see what happens.
Yeah, I dare you. Yeah. But yeah, it's just that thing that you might, no matter what level you get to, or what level your writing's at, or what level your career's at, you're still going to write stuff that's going to get rejected when you send it out. So it is, you're right. It's just the industry. It's going to happen.
I think it's really mean, but the more no's you get, the closer you're going to be to a yes too.
Totally. Totally.
Very mean. It's just mean.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I won't reject you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, we can be rejection buddies together.
Rejection buddies together. I'm just gonna have a sip of my water with my rejection buddy.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, that's good water.